禅师 APP 可以随时记录修行内容和时长，让我养成了修行的好习惯。
学习人生智慧。
禅师 APP
The Meditation Master app can also download audio files, allow me to listen to Dharma talks offline anytime. Ding dong, ding dong. Grandmaster live broadcast will start in an hour. After downloading the Meditation Master app, you'll be notified in advance about any of these teachings. You can also take notes during each Dharma talk. The Meditation Master app unlocks the door. Your cultivation convenient and happy. Hurry and share this good news with your friends. So that was the Chinese Meditation Master app, and we're looking forward to have the English version soon.
好，各位亲爱的网友朋友，大家好。
Hello, my dear friends.
今天呢，我们又到了念就好了的第二期
and all is well, part 2.
上一次我觉得分享那些故事
Last time, the stories that were shared were very touching.
这个佛法的殊胜神奇啊，
Yeah,
是不可思议的。
lot of miraculous things
按
about
通常的
these
我们今天的这个科学，
Buddhas,
我们所已知的
Bodhisattvas.
这些有限的科学范
According
围
to
内，
what we have
实在
already
是
known in
理解不了。
science, sometimes it
但
is
是呢，
quite
我相信大
incredible.
家的故事
But
是最真实的
I know
啊。我
and
们
I
尤其
believe
是
all your
今天跟
stories
我
are
来学
true.
习，我们每个人的
Especially
故事，每个人的见
those of you
证，
who
像上次
followed
我
me
们
for a
的
long time,
来
everybody
给大
has
家分享的
stories.
见证，
Last
都是我
time,
们的网友
the
自己来分享
stories shared are
还不是在
from
网
our
上找
online friends.
的
It
对，
was
真人
not
真事。
that we searched
当然
online. They
也
were
有
all
人
the
会说
stories that
特
shared
别
with
的就
us
是无神
from
论
our
的，就是
online
说
friends.
这个是一种巧合。
Some people might
我
say,
但
oh,
愿
it's just
多
a
一点这样的巧
coincidence.
合。
I hope there
我
will be
们
more
人就沾光
coincidences
了，对
like
不对？
these, right?
哎，从
Human
人类的
beings
烦
would
恼
be
到
happier
疾病，到各种各样
from
的问题，
afflictions, from
有时候
illnesses,
靠
from
自
all
身的
kinds
力
of
量
problems
和我
with
们已经
our
掌握的
own
方法
power
是
or
无法
the
解
ways
决
that
的。
we, the
都
known
甚至很难
ways
跨
that
越。
we have learned.
简单来说，你得不得病，
Seems
你不知道。
impossible to solve,
现在
right?
这疫情期间，你会不
And
会
in
中了招啊？
say, for example, in
不知道。
pandemic, whether someone would
还有你今
be
年能不能嫁出去，
affected,
不知道。
or this year would you
对。
be able to
你
get
现在读
married?
书很
You
好，
don't know.
但是能不能考上大学，鬼
You
知道。
usually study well, but would you be
还有
able to be
接下来的时间
accepted by the
你乘坐的
university,
现在的
especially in
人
China, because
你的
they
居
it
住
depends
点，
on the
你
entrance
不可能天天
examination.
搬家呀，你要上
You
班。
don't know,
我
and
们都使用交通
if
工
you
具，对不对？
you know
哪
live
一天出
somewhere,
问
you
题
always need
不
to
知道。
take you need to use some transportation,
但是就是
and
在这种不
whether
知道
one
的，
day
还
there
有
will
人类
be
自己做不到
an
的，
accident,
候
you don't know.
对于
So there are
神佛
lots
来
of
说，
things are
来帮
unknown.
你是那么
So
的简单。
But whenever there's something happens for Buddhas, Bodhisattvas to help us, it's just so easy. And today, we have more stories to share with you. We'll continue to share. Okay, Joyce and Christine. Okay, Joyce said, I'll start first. Grandmaster, you mentioned about protecting us when we go out. And Xing Qing, sister from Taiwan, shared something about Guanyin Bodhisattva protected them when they are having a tour. So it was end of August in 2010, and she was with her girlfriend, her boyfriend, and her professor and some classmates. They have 3 cars going to Shanling Brook to have a tour. The day before, she actually had a dream of Grandmaster, and Master reminded her in the dream that there's a ceremony in the Taipei Center and invited her to join. But because she thought everything has already arranged for the tour, she didn't plan to go to the ceremony. But that morning when she was doing exercise, the bagua necklace that has already worn for quite a long time suddenly broke. And she knows that when the necklace suddenly break, it must indicate an incident or something bad may happen, so need to pay attention. And so she was very worried, and so but she already promised to give a ride to the professor, so she still went and she took Grandmaster's picture. That day, at the beginning, when they were going downhill, it was very, very sunny. But when they're approaching a very dark cave, all of a sudden, suddenly there was very heavy fog, and it was like completely see at all around the car. And her car was the first car and she was thinking, oh no, around, like on this, beside the road, it was all the high cliffs. If they are not careful, all of the people in the car might fall from the cliff. And so everybody was very nervous, and nobody talks. It was very quiet, and so immediately she put Grandmaster's picture on the wing, and she started to chant Guanyin Bodhisattva's sacred name. After a while, when she closed her eyes, she could see Guanyin Bodhisattva was kind of like holding a baby. And when she looked carefully, it was actually Guanyin Bodhisattva was holding the 3 cars. And she immediately felt relieved, and she knows that they will be saved. And instantly, the fog disappeared, and it was sunny again. The whole time when they go downhill, they were all, she was always chanting Guanyin Bodhisattva's sacred name, and everybody went back home safely. After many years, one day, her mother-in-law suddenly told them, she said, that time when they were having that tour, she had a dream that both of them, she and her boyfriend at that time, her husband right now, both of them fall into from the cliff, and so she was very scared. But then, in the dream, both of them came out of the valley, and so she knows that everybody. Actually, there shouldn't be any problem. So she thought, oh, it must be a big disaster in their life, and it was because of Grandmaster and Guanyin Bodhisattva's blessings that they have passed it safely. So very grateful for Grandmaster and Guanyin Bodhisattva. Yeah. All of a sudden when there's fog, Joy said, Grandmaster mentioned before, in the fog, sometimes it can have very evil energy, or the negative energy or yin energy, and can be very dangerous. And they were very sunny, and all of a sudden the fog appeared, and it was approaching a very dark cave. And if there were no protection, this calamity might lead to some disasters. And so the good thing is that she had Grandmaster's picture there, and also she was sincerely chanting Guanyin Bodhisattva's sacred name. And Christine said, well, actually, it was interesting that before she had a dream, that Grandmaster already reminded her and gave her some hints and information and invited her to go to the ceremony. If she go to the ceremony, she would be able to avoid this disaster. At that time, she was not able to read the message, and she still reluctantly, even though she was reluctant, she still went. And the second reminder was the necklace suddenly broke, and it was also reminding her that there might be some unpleasant things happening. And so this is the second reminder. But when actually things happened, it was good that the sister prayed for Grandmaster's protection, prayed for Guanyin Bodhisattva's protection, and chanted Guanyin Bodhisattva's sacred name. So I'd like to remind everybody we need to wear these, blessed gifts. And if we're driving, we'd better have the car tassel, the blessed car tassel, medicine Buddhas, Guanyin Bodhisattvas, or these car tassels, and when we're wearing those pendants, we don't know when they will help us to receive some reminders from Grandmaster. And this sister also mentioned, a lot of English students call that's MasterCard, and that MasterCard we need to bring that at all times, and every family member needs to have one. Grandmaster says, well, from my experience from Taiwan, if it's just a regular tour or just a gathering, when there's a dream that reminded you, the first dream was to invite her to go to ceremony. It means actually to cancel the tour and go to ceremony. Most people would think, I've already promised to go, and how to explain it to my friends. And she just felt it's hard to explain. And also, she might really want to go for a tour, and she never thought about what if she would fall from the cliff and she might lose her life. And even if she didn't die, and if she had to lie on bed for 30 years, which is better, right? Because people, when they had these dreams, they didn't pay attention to it. And including this sister, her energy Bagua instructor actually gave her that necklace. And so this is such a serious reminder, but she was still very stubborn, and she still went. I believe that she, even though she went to the tour, but she must have some merits, because otherwise that would be quite serious. And also that fog, it probably won't come from nowhere. Last time we talked about some serious things happening, say for example, maybe by the river or by the cliff. Some people might commit suicide, or some very dangerous locations that very frequently have car accidents. There's some ghosts. They are waiting for another body, another dead person, so to replace them, so that they can be released. So that fog might be a dark ghost, and it suddenly appeared, and you cannot see anything. That kind of fog really is to coming to get your life. So my master told me when we're walking or driving, if you see fog, everywhere in any country there might be fog. If that fog, sometimes they have an edge. When there's fog, maybe you can stop your car and do not enter that fog. And sometimes you will do energy bagua, but if there is heavy fog, better not go there. Unless you're extremely strong that you can avoid the harm of the fog, because otherwise you might get very serious disease or unknown fever, or maybe have a nightmare, or lose your hair or something, or suddenly you have very bad cold. So that fog may contain, well, with some scientific verses, it could have some, some very bad information or message or energy there that can cause illnesses.
对不对？政府的王朝，不管他的国家叫唐也好、宋也好，对不对？
Whether it's Tang Dynasty, I remember, well, in the central area, there are very few evil energy or evil qi.
所以他们在记载之中，你像过去有叫狄青打入广西，
and so when they say
瘴气，瘴气就是邪气。
when Diqing come to Guangxi province, they say they're that evil energy. And sometimes they use that kind of evil energy to kill people. And before you even understand what it is, you suddenly get fainted, and your life probably already been taken away. So he has his like they do something to make everybody get sick. They would say, oh, it's because all the soldiers would get sick, and they would say, oh, it's because the water is maybe dirty. But they actually have ways to make the water clean so they can drink, can be. But those Dharma skills, and Zhuge Liang also knows how to do it. Zhuge Liang is an ancient Chinese character. And the steam buns.
当时很多人打仗的时候，把人家砍2万多士兵的头啊，就扔到江里去了。等他们再过那条江过不去。
In the war, when they kill like 20,000 people, they put all the head into the river, and nobody can cross that river. And if you take a ship, you will die. If you crawl over there, you would die. And Zhuge Liang also could not cross the river. And so Zhuge Liang, because he cannot cross the river, and so he had to pray and ask for forgiveness. And in China, they didn't have steamed buns before. They make those steamed buns with the meat as the stuffings, and so they will make it as a sacrifice to worship those gods, and then they were able to cross the river. Well, nowadays, people, when you hear this story, you would think like you cannot understand it, but whether you understand it or not, you won't be able to cross the river. So I'd like to remind everybody, when there's heavy fog like that, better not to go and not to enter that. When you have a dream like this, very clearly to see that it's actually trying to persuade you not to go there, you'd better give up the plan. What if the Bodhisattva didn't protect you, right? Because there are those ghosts or those souls that were actually waiting to take away your life. But I can see that this person, this sister, has merits. At least they have made offerings, made lights. And when also the Bagua, energy Bagua instructor, the teacher, when she gave the energy Bagua necklace, they have already give her the blessings. It's a blessed necklace. And also this sister, Joy, said she actually volunteered a lot in the Taiwan Center. And so, we need to accumulate merits at all times, because we never know what can happen, and don't wait until it actually happened, and it would be like at that instant, maybe it would be not enough or too late, and so we don't want that pity to happen. And okay, I'll give you that raspberry to Sister Xingqing. Oh, cranberries. It's actually cranberries. Okay, I'll give you the dried cranberries. I wish you auspiciousness and wish fulfilling and live 100 years. And next story was shared by Yung SH, and it was 32 years ago when she was pregnant with her second daughter. Because she had high blood pressure at the time of 27 weeks of pregnancy, she suddenly had bleedings, and the doctor said she needs to stay in the hospital, and she needs to stay there, couldn't move at all. And the doctors will try their best to protect the fetus, but they cannot guarantee. And so she was very worried because the baby was still very little. And at that time, she she was chanting. She started to chant all compassionate Guanyin Bodhisattva to protect the baby. And suddenly, one night, she dreamed of Guanyin Bodhisattva, flew to her bed from the window to look at her, and she woke up. So that was the first dream. But at that time, she was very young. She didn't know what it means. And the second night, she dreamed of her went to a temple to kneel down and pray for Guanyin Bodhisattva to protect her child safety and peace. And all of a sudden, a yellow cloth came down to her from Guanyin Bodhisattva's statue. And when she opened the cloth, it was a very clear children's picture. And then she woke up. So these two dreams had something to do with Guanyin Bodhisattva, because she knows that the whole time when she was in the hospital, she was chanting Guanyin Bodhisattva for protection like crazy. And after a few weeks, her daughter was delivered safely. The baby was very small, 2 and 2.5 kilograms, but everything was but it was fine, like everybody was safe, and she was very grateful for Guanyin Bodhisattva to save both the mother and the daughter. So there are lots of stories about Guanyin Bodhisattva to protect us, and this is a story about protecting both the mother and the daughter. This is the amazing part of it is that she had 2 dreams, and these 2 dreams are all very auspicious. And so the more sincere we are, the Guanyin Bodhisattva will come sooner, and it did come true that Guanyin Bodhisattva protected the baby. And so that was 32 years ago, and now that daughter must be 32 years old. And so Grandmaster said, that's great. We're so happy to have this girl coming to the world. And so this online friend's name is YOONSH. What is SH? So your baby was born 32 years ago now. She must be 32 years old. I wish your whole family happy and sweetness. I'll give you dried blueberry. Thank you, Grandmaster. And last time, we mentioned about a big white horse like give a dream, but this is a story about Anya. She shared a story about Grandmaster give her a dream. That was December the 13th on 2020. She dreamed that Grandmaster came to her house, and Grandmaster she said, Grandmaster came to our house and gave us a poem with 4 sentences. The serious disease will not bother us. The second sentence cannot remember, and make more offerings to accumulate merits, and there are past bad karma hasn't been eliminated. And Grandmaster said 2 times, and when she woke up, she recorded, but she couldn't remember the second sentence, and she thought it's very serious. She knows that it must be something very serious, but because of her limited financial power, she thought she wanted to discuss with her family member about how to make more, accumulate more merits. But before she discussed with her family member, her father, all of a sudden, on the second night after the dream, suddenly got sick, and her father was having bursting pain in the stomach, and also the back pain was so serious. It's almost like the back is going to break. It's like excruciating pain. And so her father was always wailing on the bed. And but her father has been cultivating for a while, but he didn't know what happened, and where did he do something wrong, and he couldn't practice anymore. So he asked the sister to help, and the sister begged for master's blessings. And the sister, while the sister was begging master's help, and she saw a young girl with 2 old ladies behind her, and the 2 old ladies are very angry, and the resentment had something to do with the little girl. And so when the sister told her father immediately knew the reason of the illnesses. These 2 old ladies were her father's 2 aunts, and the little girl was her father's sister, younger sister. In 1960, after her grandmother delivered her father's younger sister, she passed away. And at that time, her father was only 3 years old, and her grandfather cannot look after 2 little kids, so decided to give away the baby girl. And because her father's 2 aunts have already got married, has a family, but they didn't have their own kids, so her grandfather wanted to give the baby girl to them, but they didn't adopt the little girl, and so her grandfather had to give her the little girl to another couple in another town, and he actually went to look at the little girl twice, but maybe the couple was afraid that her grandfather would took the child back, so they moved, and ever since they didn't heard anything from them. And when her father grew up, she knows that he has a sister has been given away, and she wanted to find her sister but couldn't find. And and so her father always has resentment towards her auntie because they didn't adopt her sister. In 1980s, her father's 2 aunts grew old, and they went to talk to her father and wanted her father to look after them. But her father could not forgive them for not adopting her younger sister, and so he firmly refused them to look after them. And so not long later, both of them passed away. Even though her father has cultivated for so many years. Her father has always had this complaints towards these two ants. But this time, the pain on the back and abdomen allowed the father to understand the reason. And so he immediately went to the center to offer lights for the two ants. After the lights are offered, her father has changed his perspective. Before he was complaining, but now he can understand that actually they, because they didn't give birth to any, they didn't have any children, so they have no persuading power in the family, and they couldn't make decisions to adopt the child. And because of the light, her father completely changed his thoughts and was able to put himself in their shoes and understood how sad it is for the two old ladies to leave the world without anybody to look after them. And so he started to repent in front of them very, very sincerely and cry and cry and cry. And eventually, all these resentment completely disappeared, and the pain on the back also started to dissipate and also disappeared. And her father believed that the two ladies, also because of the light, they were able to be guided to a good place and forgive his mistake before. And actually, not only that, 2 months after making the offering of the light, her father's sister, which is her aunt, they actually found her. She's now 61 years old, living in Dalian, and is a retired teacher. And so this is actually Grandmaster who helped them to resolve all these resentment. And now, on June the 12th is the day when her father and the younger sister finally were able to meet. After 61 years, they haven't met. And so they are so grateful for Grandmaster's guidance, and so that they can, dissolve and remove all the bad karmas. But, yeah, so her father, actually, even though he was only a little boy at the time, because he cannot find his younger sister, they were thinking like, if her aunts adopted the little sister, then they would still be able to see the little sister. But later, because they could not find the little sister, so she had very deep resentment towards the two aunts. Yeah, so there are so many reasons for people to get angry, right? To have resentment. And the grudge has been there for like decades. Well, actually, her father was not very, it's quite restless. And when the two aunts asked him to look after them, he even refused to look after them. Well, he was quite harsh at the time, and so that's why the two old ladies, when they leave the world, they were having a lot of regrets and very sad and also very angry. And so Christine said, so the two old ladies, they also had this grudge and resentment. They didn't think about that they didn't adopt the little girl. They just remember that the sister's father didn't look after them before they leave the world. So these resentments and grudges were so deep and so strong and for so long. And when these resentments and grudges eventually manifest, and it became like excruciating pain on the father's back. Yeah, so when I heard this story, Christine said, even a very small grudge, when you complain something, and this can actually cause very huge obstacles if you do do not experience the final, consequence. You will not imagine how big it is and how bad it is. And that's why Grandmaster always guide us to do kind deeds and have kind hearts, because these resentment and the grudges can cause so much pain. The pain for, first the pain for the two old ladies, and then the pain for the father, and then for the whole family. And this sister, Enya, I can really feel her gratitude. If she didn't, and her father didn't learn from Grandmaster to learn ways to resolve the resentment, and they made offerings of light, and then they repent, then they sincerely repent, and those all help them to eventually dissolve all the grudges. And so Grandmaster says all these complaints and even resentment, if because of the resentment they die, that will become a big issue. So that's why in China there are two festivals that people that are designed for releasing souls. Whenever there is any seniors who are complaining about you, it must be your fault. And according to natural science, you think that it's just you were not driving carefully. Well, and maybe it hurt your back. But actually everything happens with a reason. It's not an accident or an incident. It's all a consequence. Everything has a reason. When you have headache, it also has a reason. And the weather is not good, and it also has a reason. Whatever it's cold or hot, or maybe you fall because the floor was not level, or you go to see a doctor, and for 3 years you wasn't able to walk properly. When you hear, there always is a story there, and it seems like there's a reason that caused that, but actually the leg pain, even if you didn't fall, you would still have the pain, because there's a reason behind it that will definitely cause the pain. And one of the reasons is the resentment. And how can the resentment be caused? It's because of harm, and sometimes because of money, like they want to grab money, and you chase that robber, but then he used the stick to injure the other person. And if the injury didn't get healed, and then the dead person will come back and try to take away your life, because we call it a ghost that wants to get your life. And later you will hear another story about a Malaysian story. Well, I will give this Enya, who shared this story, I'll give her 2 American ginseng that's manufactured that's grown in Canada. One is sliced ginseng, and one is the fine roots of the ginseng. Thank you, Grandmaster. And Sister Shou from Melpit Center also shared a story about Guanyin Bodhisattva protected her younger daughter. She almost lost her daughter. So that was in 2018, at the end of 2018, she came to Vancouver for a chanting class. She came to join the chanting class. Her elder daughter joined the youth camp, and that was And so on December the 31st, everybody went to some, New Year's event. And it was about midnight because the next day they still have class. They went to take Skytrain to go back to the hotel. And at the Skytrain station, so the three of them, well, actually, the two elder person, like she and her elder daughter was in the front, and she didn't notice that her younger daughter was behind them. And so when they have already when she has already get into the car, the Skytrain car, and her daughter was still outside, and she was shouting, "Oh no, my daughter is still outside. My daughter is outside." And so she tried to open the door, but you all know that the Skytrain car, these are controlled by it's automatic, right? It's controlled by some, I don't know, machines. So just you try to push it open, it's impossible. But at that time, on the Skytrain station, there's another lady who was like a superwoman, was so strong, and opened the door for them. And so she was able to pull her little girl into the Skytrain, and then the door closed. Oh my gosh, that was so risky. All the Skytrain here, there were no drivers, and there were no staff there in the car, and so nobody would stop the car for you, stop the Skytrain for you. And so at that time, it could be that, well, what if her younger daughter was just left in the Skytrain station without them? And that was the New Year's Eve, and there were so many people there, very crowded. A lot of people were wearing costumes and celebrating the New Year. And you would never know such a little girl, like without parents and without the elder sister, where can she go? And would somebody took her away? So that's very risky. And so one thing that happened that morning was also that she had a necklace. Before, there was Chalcedony Guanyin Bodhisattva's pendant that she was wearing, and that day, right on that Chinese New Year's, not Chinese New Year, right on December 31st, the New Year's Eve, the necklace also broke. And so some other brothers and sisters said, oh, maybe Guanyin Bodhisattva will protect you from a calamity. And she, when the necklace broke, she didn't know how to read the message, but eventually she realized, oh, and that was what happened that night. So it was very lucky that there was a lady who was very, very strong, who was able to open the door for them, the Skytrain door for them. So if you can always wear a Guanyin Bodhisattva's pendant or any blessed gifts that will really help you to avoid that kind of calamities, that is really, really helpful and save our lives. So that story was very risky. A little girl, if she was left on the Skytrain station by herself, she might be taken away by some strangers, and it could also be that the little girl fell into the rack, and I don't know what could even happen. It's so scary. And at least the little girl would be completely frightened. But there was a lady, like a superwoman, who, like it's just impossible. Even the man, I don't think they could even open the door. And the Skytrain was about to already start, that the door can be opened and the girl can be pushed into the Skytrain. That was just incredible. So human beings may not be able to do that, but Buddhas, Bodhisattvas can do it easily. So I wish, Grandmaster said, I wish everybody will do more good deeds. And if you have Buddha statue or picture, always be respectful and always bear a kind heart, do kind deeds, and also, it would be much better if you can have some blessed gifts. It can help you to avoid the calamities from evil energy or from any calamities or accidents. And this is a green He-Tian jade. It's wonderful. Just now, I also showed you a white He-Tian jade pendant. This is a Bodhisattva's statue pendant. And in the next, when we get to Ulaanbaatar festival, you know, the energy would be like, it's better for you to wear something like sandalwood or agarwood or jade pendant or Buddha's, Bodhisattvas, you know, pictures. And this is an Indian sandalwood pendant. It's very fragrant. Yeah, just the wood itself, it helps to dispel evil spirits. So Joyce is going to share another story. I haven't given her the present. Shou. Yeah, that's for Shou. Well, this is the first time I'm praising myself that I remembered. If I didn't give her a prize or a present, I'll save money. But, well, Sister Shou, you really have good fortune. And that little girl is also very fortunate. Give her that colorful bracelet. Okay, this is for you. And this bracelet, what bracelet is that? Sunlight Bodhisattva's gem bracelet. It's so beautiful, especially for young girls. It will make you so much more beautiful, and I hope your whole family auspiciousness and good fortune. That's for you. Sunlight Bodhisattva gemstone bracelet. And okay, the next sharing is about, it's Hong Kong from New York Center about 3 years ago. His son was having cough and fever about a whole week, couldn't go to school, and he gave him some medicine for the fever, but the fever came down and then come up again, and so he gave up giving him the medicine for the fever, and but his son was coughing so seriously and couldn't even sleep, and so that was Sunday night, and Grandmaster's Facebook has a post about Guanyin Bodhisattva will help whenever you have a wish. And so he started to chant, sincerely pray for Guanyin Bodhisattva to heal his son so that he can stop the cough and at least he can go to bed and go to sleep. And then he was chanting and chanting and chanting, and really Guanyin Bodhisattva heard my prayer. Not long later, his son stopped coughing and fell asleep. And he continued chanting for an hour. And when he touched his son body was still very hot. He was a little bit disappointed. How come he still have fever? But then he thought, oh, I only prayed for the son to be able to sleep and stop the coughing, and so I shouldn't be too greedy. But the next morning when he woke up and touched the son's body, oh, he's not having fever at all. And you see, the son's fever and cough has been put a stop button, and not even have a process of gradually get better. It just instantly get well. And so he's very, very grateful for Guanyin Bodhisattva and for Grandmaster's compassionate teachings. So wow, that's very effective. So if we have Guanyin Bodhisattva statue or, Tangka, so whenever we have something, if we sincerely pray in front of Guanyin Bodhisattva's Tangka or picture, it would be very effective. And here we have a very beautiful jadeite Guanyin Bodhisattva's statue. Well, Grandmaster said, I'll give, oh, that's a sister who shared, okay. I'll give Hong Kong's sister. This is the aged tea from Taiwan, and also this very beautiful silk band. I hope your whole family will be auspicious and wishes will be granted and happy and sweet. Your child is the hope of your whole family. So when the child is sick and needs protections and their studies need protections and blessings, Guanyin Bodhisattva's blessings is so amazing. And you all understand the story, right? And so Christine was asking about the statue. This is a jadeite Guanyin Bodhisattva statue. This is a very big statue. It's about 6.4 kilograms. It's a very big one, big jadeite. It's like in the green, it has some purplish color. It's not complete purple. This color, it's not complete purple. It's like greenish purple. When we make Bodhisattva statue, such a big statue is not easy. It's about 30 centimeters tall. Either jade or any gemstones. The universe is interesting. There's the perfection in imperfection. Whatever gemstone, there's always a crack. And so it can be real cracks or just false cracks. So it's the crack in the stone. In this earth, any stones or any gemstones, even though it's very beautiful, when you use magnifiers, you can see that there are cracks somewhere. And because they haven't broke, so you can still make them into square ones or round ones, into pendants or statues. But such a big jadeite statue, the original stone must be at least 5 times bigger, so that they can find a part of the stone that has no cracks and the color is very even, and the stone is also with very fine texture, so that they can carve into a Bodhisattva statue. If there's a crack, they have to cut it away. At least there's no very obvious cracks. And so it's not easy to make such a big statue. And one artist actually told me, this statue, when you carve the Bodhisattva's face,
可是当它雕到脸的时候，发现
when
里
they
面
are
有两三
carving
个大
the
黑斑，
face, what if you
那
found
这
that
这一
there
下就
are
废了，
two
对不对？
spots,
你说你
dark
请个佛
spots
菩萨
over
像
there?
两个大黑斑，
Well,
你
if you
会
want
花钱
to,
请吗？
if you want
但
to
请佛菩萨
invite a
像都是
Bodhisattva
尽
statue
量
home,
接
if there are
近完美
two
的，
dark spots
要
there,
有
would
这
you
种感
invite
觉，
it?
所以不容
You
易。
always look for like
在玉石
perfect,
之中哈，
beautiful
就能够雕
statues,
手
right?
镯的，也就是
And
比
so,
天河大一点的石头，就算好的石
in
头了，
those jade,
都
if
不
they
能
can
裂了
carve
哈，
into
就能雕手镯
a
的话，
bracelet,
所以能雕
it's
这么大的
like
佛菩萨像
it
的话，
already
就是
is
比较
not
少
easy.
啊，
A
比较少，
big
所以的
stone
话
that
其实很
can
难得的哈。
eventually get part of it to
所以我们在
carve
分
into
享
such a
佛菩
big
萨这
statue
个
is
故
very
事，这
rare.
个时候
So
又
when
是
we
这
are
个
sharing
观
the
世音菩萨
story of
成道日
Guanyin
即将到
Bodhisattva
来的时候，
and
就让大家开
also
开
Guanyin
眼啊，
Bodhisattva's
看看
enlightenment
世间有很多的
anniversary is
这个美
approaching,
好的
we'd like to
不可思
share,
议的
we'll
这
show
些
everybody
佛菩萨
this
造像哈。
statue.
嗯
There's such amazing statue existing in the world. And next, Christine is going to share a story about a Malaysian
Oh.
friend who really wanted to purchase 增具 from Malaysia, Zhao Lai Center. She really wanted to purchase Guanyin Bodhisattva's Tanka. In 2018, her husband Zeng Zhi had high blood pressure and had a stroke. And so at that time, her whole family spent a lot of time for curing his disease. Almost all the savings were spent. And so his husband Zeng Zhi used to have a very high income position, but because of the illnesses, he cannot go back to that position anymore. So they don't have any income. And after a year, in 2019, in August, she herself went alone to the center to join a chanting class to relax herself. And that sincerity chanting class. And she was very, very exhausted, and she had no income at that time. She was really in a bad state. And in this sincerity chanting class, she clearly feel the call from the four-armed Guanyin Bodhisattva. And she just felt that this four-armed Guanyin Bodhisattva is calling her and asking her or inviting her to bring this Tanka home. But she was very hesitated because she already had the Medicine Buddha's Tanka and Medicine Buddha's statue, and they also have Grandmaster's picture. She was afraid that they have already spent almost all the money for her husband's disease, and would the whole family blame her for spending more money to purchase more Tanka? And so she was very struggling. And therefore, she actually went in front of Grandmaster's picture and opened the book, the Buddhist robe, and prayed for Grandmaster and Guanyin Bodhisattva's guidance. And so she wanted to ask Grandmaster and Guanyin Bodhisattva to see if she should bring the Tanka home. And when she opened the book and she saw the title Return, and in Chinese it's actually the auspicious cloud coming back. And when she read down, it was like, I'm coming to find you, I belong to you, I'm part of your body, and something like that. And so she was very, very touched when she was reading that paragraph, and her tears came out and her hands were trembling. And so, okay, she just put all the other thoughts aside, and she decided to bring the four-armed Guanyin Bodhisattva home. And she wanted to have the largest size four-armed Guanyin Bodhisattva. she thought she would just use credit card first and then thought about how to pay the credit card balance. And at that time, her center didn't have the largest size tanka, so they need to order from the headquarters. So she just made order for the largest size tanka. Right after she made the order, she received an order from her client, and the profit from that order of her client would be enough for her to pay for the tanka. So she was very, very grateful for Grandmaster and Guanyin Bodhisattva's protection and blessings. And so she was very happy, and eventually she bring the Guanyin Bodhisattva into her car. And at the time when she was bringing the Guanyin Bodhisattva into her car, her husband told her that his company, the Human Resources Department, called him and said because the company has bought insurance for the staff, and they will try to ask the insurance company for compensation. And eventually, the insurance company paid them more than $100,000. She said to her husband and said, "Oh, this is like." It was right at the time when she brought the four-armed Guanyin Bodhisattva tanka home, and her husband received that great news, and they eventually got that more than $10,000. And so, so she told her husband, she said, "Oh, this four-armed Guanyin Bodhisattva worth more than $100,000. And her husband said, her husband is actually wiser, and he said, "This is priceless. This tanka is priceless." Yeah, that's true. And this Guanyin Bodhisattva's tanka brought so much auspiciousness and good fortune to her whole family. So yeah, it's very important to invite the Guanyin, to invite the tanka or statue home. So in our home, if we have these protections, whether it is a tanka or picture or statue, and also from the story, it also gives us a hint, like whenever you don't know what to do, you can always ask for guidance from Grandmaster. Like you can look at Grandmaster's picture or Guanyin Bodhisattva's tanka or picture and see if they're smiling or are angry, or you can use the Buddhist rope, the book, to ask for guidance. And in this book, this time for her, Zheng Ju was like, "Oh, originally I was yours. I belong to you. I was your part of your body. I'm coming to find you." And so all these words are in this paragraph. And so this Buddhist robe, this book, was about a lot of stories about how Grandmaster, from his childhood, how he learned Dharma, how he helped others, and every story, not only the stories are all really great stories, but also behind it, there are lots of inspirations and a lot of guidance and a lot of even guidance for practice. And so for every Bodhi student, it's a treasure. And including reading it. Read once is definitely not enough. And Grandmaster said, "Well, she didn't mention about reading, right? Yeah, she just used the book for like guidance, and so she just opened the book and yeah."
不是，我们给新网友简单介绍一下，你们俩脑子一发展之后，其实大家不知道要怎么弄。
Grandmaster said we can just give a brief introduction about this book. So when you have something that you don't know how to make a decision. Say, for example, if I look at this house, whether I should buy it or not. Of course, there are other options, right? So maybe in 4 directions, there are different kind of houses. Which one I should buy? And so when you bring the Buddhist robe book, and there must be my picture, so you can pray in front of my picture, and you ask me for, you must be very sincere and pray for my guidance. And after you pray and ask for guidance, you can say clearly, I need guidance for whether I should buy the house. And then you open the book, and that page will give you the guidance. And if there's evil energy in your house, and if you put the Buddhist robe on the windowsill or under your pillow, or it will always give you protections. And a lot of people, when they have stomachache or some other pain or headache, you can put it on your stomach or under your head or something like that. So when you need guidance, you can use it this way. And in this story, Zeng Ju's husband mentioned that this book is priceless, and Grandmaster says, I think this is true. Guanyin Bodhisattva's tanka, how much, or picture, how much it can bring you. It could be endless. It's not that simple. It's not like 100,000, that's the end. It will be endless. The money will just keep coming and coming and coming. Yeah, this is Buddha's and Bodhisattva's blessings. That male statue of Guanyin Bodhisattva, it was hundreds of years ago, and it was a bronze statue, has been offered in the temple for many years, and that blessing power, the Dharma power, is huge, can bring us huge protection and blessings, and will bring us wealth and prosperity. And of course, this statue is not very cheap, because it can bring you so much blessings. There will never be a cheap Bodhisattva or Buddha statue. Yeah. So this Guanyin Bodhisattva is in the male form. Okay, what present should we give to Sister Zeng Ju? This is a blended berries from Canada. I wish your whole family happiness and auspiciousness. Okay, thank you, Grandmaster. Any other stories? Is that all? Oh, we have more. And another friend. Oh, last time, Grandmaster, you did blessings, the soul retrieval, spirit grounding. Remember, there's one online friend said 35 years ago, when she was pregnant for 5 months, one night she already went to bed, and her husband came back from work, and so he didn't turn on the light and just approached her to see if she has already fallen asleep. But she was halfly awoke, and she just felt some breathing, and when she opened her eyes, suddenly saw a big face, and she was like completely frightened. And 2 years later, in the winter, she was also frightened by a big face on the kitchen glass, on the kitchen window. And so ever since then, she was always afraid of shadows, and she always need to put the Vajra pestle in right beside the pillow, and she needs to hold the Vajra pestle so that she can sleep. And after Grandmaster's spirit grounding, she said now she can sleep very settled and very soundly, and now she can also calm down and in a very peaceful mind to meditate. It's so effective, and actually we have many students reported many students reported their results after the spirit grounding. And Grandmaster said, yeah, a lot of students mentioned about before they couldn't sleep well because they feel like they are not settled. Some friends, and after the energy healing and spirit grounding, now they can sleep soundly and settled. And sometimes, when their spirits are not grounded, sometimes they can always have, like they always feel scared, or they can even have depression, or maybe their facial organs are crooked, or they're very weak, or sometimes they could have a lot of issues. So when the spirit has been put back to the body, usually the problem will be solved. And well, the hardest part of spirit grounding is actually to settle these karmic creditors, because that really spent a lot of my energy, and I have to spend a lot of time in solving these problems with the karmic creditors. Yeah, so today I will solve all these problems, and you can settle down to live a good life. All right. Well, there are so many wonderful stories. I'm so presents. Well, she is reporting her benefit. Oh, okay. Okay. I'll still give her a present. Oh, this cranberry. The red cranberry. I was very joyful and happy. I hope your whole family will be happy. All right. Let's start chanting.
世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无 南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨。 南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩 南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨， 菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩 菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音。
在大家的诵念的过程中，大家一边真诚的诵念，我呢一边为大家做一些减轻疾病、消除疾病、消除烦恼的一些加持啊。现在呢，就是用的一个马铃薯，一个土豆啊，借用它加持。过一会儿呢，有很多人的身体呢疼痛就消失了啊。
After a while, a lot of
嘴
people's
巴变甜了，
pain
眼睛变亮了， 腰酸背痛消失
disappear.
了啊。
They will
甚至
start to
是离你
speak
最
kinder
近的水
words.
杯里的
They,
水都会变得
and
甘甜
even
起来。
the water that is close to you will become
应该
sweeter.
一定会的。
That will definitely happen.
南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨。
这样我就把你的病就挖出来。
So in this way, I will dig out your illnesses.
南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观 南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，
各位亲爱的网友朋友，大家好。
All right.
从
Hello, everyone.
念佛号、道德的加持
From chanting
此圆满
to
我相
energy
信大家
blessing,
会有一定的
you're
收
all
获。
complete. I believe you all have received some benefits. I hope your illnesses will disappear,
今天
your
的直播呢
afflictions
就
will
到此圆
disappear.
满了。
And that's all
祝
for
大家
today's live
如
feed.
意吉祥
I wish you all auspiciousness
健
and
康
wish
长寿
fulfillment
我们
and
下次
healthy
直播
and
再见了
longevity. I'll see you next time in our next live feed.